I'll see if I can, if it's far, if,
I don't know the fiscal years coincide.
I'm sorry?
Do the fiscal years coincide because you're getting.
No, because
Water.
the still on a calendar fiscal year. They're the only ones, everybody else is pretty much, July, June, July.
One year we were.
Can't reach.
Like May, July 1, June 30th, cycle of the.
yeah, we're gonna not do this.
Yeah.
So the truck, which
Oh, got it.
What level we're talking about.
Right, exactly.
Tax improvement.
Yeah.
I have it.
So you've been
All right, we'll get to
looking at
this.
the 1976.
Oh, yes, very, very involved.
Okay.
So
Behind
the scenes.
I saw it's stable.
We suspect.
You mean the
I thought the
yes,
The
the
only
document that
plan
we're
is
using is
maybe
Word.
a resolution for stakeholders meeting about this sometime in the future.
Maybe, but it was just such a drastic change from our current.
Dave Alves, can you say something?
A whole lot of environmental glasses requirements.
And a lot of math. No, that's bad. But was
Say it again.
very heavy.
Thank you very much.
But within the law, if you had a chance. to-
So are we good?
It really changed. How.
Wow.
my truck. I'm trying to figure that out right now. Right, try again.
Start the.
How about now?
Yeah.
So its volume's coming through the projector.
Starts with
Oh,
remarks by saying that.
okay.
Spoiler alert, there's no.
Well, we can hear him, I guess, so that's,
If they're too loud or.
okay,
Essentially,
Let me know if I'm raising my voice.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so, and
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Okay.
because, If you were around in 1986, the original work management law.
Just curious, Matt, why
they
doesn't it
had
come through
A
this?
lot of money that they financed.
My guess is there's too many USBs coming in and I probably could go into the settings and figure it out, but I probably
But
also
you can hear us, right, Dave?
really screw it up.
Okay, good deal. And, but is Buzz here?
He's online.
Okay.
Makes sense.
We're just waiting for George to check for some glasses and then we'll start.
We're gonna have
Yeah,
a
I can't
massive,
buzz you, but
massive changes in the way we were operating.
Yeah, I'm here.
No money to spend.
Okay, Buzz, we're just waiting for George to get back and then we'll start.
And say, you gotta redo your comp plan, and oh, by the way, it's $60,000.
Did we decide that the board has accepted Mr. Schatz's report?
I don't know that he has formally given his resignation.
Because it affects us, because we
I
have
haven't
8
heard a
members,
lot about it.
Sorry, I'm messing with you.
Sure.
5, and on a vote, you have to have 5 people in the affirmative.
Yeah, I don't know that he has given his resignation formally to Lindsay. I don't know if they can.
Yeah,
vote
I
on
don't
it.
know either.
I don't know.
But I noticed that his name is still on.
He's missed more than 3 meetings, so.
Well, but he's still got, as far as I'm concerned, something has to be done.
Oh,
You can't- just because you missed 3 meetings doesn't mean you know.
Dave, I want to see if we can hear you again.
Yeah, again, NMA's testimony against it is quite happy.
Oh, and now he's on
All
there.
right, one more time.
I can hear, that's 1, 2, I can hear.
Yeah, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
I will stop touching the computer until, you need me to.
Okay. We're just waiting for George to get back.
You got a lot, I couldn't find the glasses.
So we-
It will look better when the lights are up, I
Yes,
promise.
yes.
Can you make it bigger?
Bigger.
You can't make it
Yeah,
bigger.
it's over there.
I'm sorry?
Our youngest started
Oh,
this,
no kidding.
yeah, bill number 1.
Okay, well, we're.
You won't go full screen
I'm
like.
in 110.
Let's see.
We're above.
Is it easier to see when it's up?
It's easier up there, yeah, but I still
Yeah.
can read it.
Well, she's, this is the train station.
Oh, okay, so yeah, she's in the Chinburg development. On top of the hill.
Grab your mouse
Yeah,
and go down
okay,
here.
well, we're the one right down the hill next to them.
No, I don't, just did 1:30.
You might be able to
Taking off sweaters and.
Yeah, I don't have just.
down one.
I can't even see it. I don't see the mouse.
Your mouse is trying to
get this thing adjusted here.
Good.
Oh, now I see it. Yeah, that's a little bigger, isn't it?
That's 110%.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Oh, look at the formatting. Good God.
That I can't help you with.
That's the one. Okay. George back? No,
I can't
not
find
yet.
the question. Do you want to stick a book under there or something to raise it up?
Yes.
$4.
I don't know how much is this?
I don't think that one's gonna work.
We have this-
I was gonna say, can you lift that table? It looks like you might be able to.
Yeah, I thought the tripod went up a little, but is that any better? Dave, do you want?
You need
I think it
another-
needs something to lift the front up.
Yeah, let's-
Yeah.
Can you we'll put it back here?
Oh.
This won't fall
No, that's too much.
off. No, damn it, you can't have everything.
Okay.
Look at the ceiling.
I don't know, there's a.
Okay, we'll go with that.
I think she has it somewhere, there's another, I don't know if that comes up any or not. You want to unscrew that? Go.
Side to side. All right, now try to go up. Oh, there we go. How's that?
Try this.
I don't
Turn
know.
up.
It'll hold.
Okay.
It won't hold.
I should have it.
It'll tight.
Tight.
This is good. Do you need them? Yeah. Hairspray.
Probably be.
I'd give you mine, George, but.
Oh, no.
That's a bust.
That's pretty.
It doesn't work properly.
That's good enough.
That'll work. That'll work for now. We're gonna do this because Lee J is gonna speak first anyway.
You want the lights off now or?
No, we're gonna have to speak with Lee J first.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for George to come and call the meeting to order and we'll be good. All right.
No, I gave you the better ones.
All right, we're gonna call this February 1st Ordinance Review Committee meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so Lee J. Feldman from Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission was kind enough to come join us tonight upon Lindsay's request. And he's gonna speak to us a little about mapping. The first page of our ordinance is our zoning map. And we lovingly call it the crayon map. It needs to be updated, so he's gonna speak to that, and we're gonna have a few questions. If anybody has any questions, I have a few of my own, so that he can be on his merry way and not have to stay here and listen to us. So help yourself.
Oh, great, thank you. So I do want to actually start, I'm going to back up a little bit because I think there were some really good questions before we actually started about, what we do and our funding sources and that sort of thing. So just to kind of get you a little more acclimated, Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission is a nonprofit organization. We are funded, we have a base funding that is provided by all the municipalities in York County and Southern Oxford County. You all pay dues that are based on a certain formula, and by being a dues paying member, you automatically get our services without having to go out to bid or go through any procurement processes that would normally happen. We provide a number of services and programs through this organization. Some are fee-related programs, and others are grant-driven programs. But we have the planning end, which we do the physical planning, land use, zoning, and development review. There are 3 of us that go out to the towns and assist as requested. That is a fee for service that we usually do with the towns on an as-needed basis. We have a transportation team of 2 people that provide transportation related programs to rural communities and to the urban area. In the urban area, it's called the MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, and that's a federally designated organization and funded through federal funds and state DOT funds. That area is primarily, the MPO area is primarily Kittery, South Berwick, York, and now the area, because of population growth, is expanding to include Kennebunkport, Arundel, and that area. So there's the physical planning, there's the transportation planning. We have a team of 1 who is very successful with the brownfields work, which is a EPA, EDA funded program to clean up sites that have either had contamination or mill buildings that need to be rehabbed. And so that program continuously runs on a regular basis. We also have a sustainability and resiliency team, which right now does most of their work in the coastal areas, as we know, with all of the different coastal sea level rise issues and whatnot. And that is a team of, I want to say, with our intern that we have, that's a team of 5, which is our bigger team. So that's pretty much what we do. Our funding sources come again from grants, from fee for service, from various areas. So that's who we are and what we do. Lyman is a member town, so we are able to come out and assist as we need to. Our planning funds, we do get a small pot of money from the state to assist communities, but it's very little, so we try to supplement anything we do with some of that money. Anyway, that being said, that's who we are, and hopefully we are we are very young in our office, good young group of professionals in these areas. So we are able to hopefully come out and help you folks. So with that, yes, Lindsay called me and spoke with me a little bit. One of the things that we talked about was, I guess, I'm glad I want to get a better understanding of it, was that you wanted your map to be done GIS wise. We can do that. We have that capability in-house. But in doing it, one of the things that she had mentioned to me was that you folks were wanting to look at kind of moving your lines around, if you will, to adjust them for the community. That's where I kind of got a little shaky when I spoke with Lindsay and said, well, we might want to talk about this a little bit more. Because if we're just to take your map and reproduce it electronically, no problems, no issues. The second we start moving lines around, there could be issues and concerns that I have from a structural standpoint, if you will. So one of the things I asked her about was your comprehensive plan. I know you folks were starting one or are in the middle of doing one. And I took a look at your comprehensive plan, or at least what I have now, which is, I guess this is an amendment to the 2004 plan. So under the way the state law, if you will, operates, and I'm going to get a little wishy-washy with you in a minute, but under the state law, if a plan was consistent with the growth management law at all, the state does not recognize it as a consistent plan after 12 years. So the 04 information that you're working off as your basis for your plan is long out of date. And when I looked at this, I think there's some really good, solid goals, policies, and strategies in the whole plan. But the question I ask is, where's the data to back it up?
Yes.
And if you're using '04 data, that's really outdated, and you can't make intelligent decisions on growth patterns or any other issues for the town on '04 data. Data right now, 2020 data, so you're talking about 17, 16 years old for the '04 data. Getting a new survey done through the town to see what attitudes may have changed since '04, as you may have an influx or a changeover of folks that are living here may have different attitudes than what you had in '04. And then taking that data and being able to say, here's what the information is telling us now. So we don't want this goal, policy, and strategy anymore. We need to do this instead. So I think one of the things you really want to look at is your comprehensive plan. That's your building block. That is the basis, the foundation. Remember that the comprehensive plan is not an ordinance. It's not a document that says you must do this, but it lays out the groundwork for decisions that you'll make for your ordinances and for your mapping and for anything else in town. So that was where I was getting a little concerned, if you will, when I spoke with Lindsay as to, well, where are we going with this whole thing? So I suggested that, you need to really work on the plan first, because the other piece of it is your zoning ordinances. And if we start either creating a new zone or moving those lines around too much, what does that mean for the actual ordinance? And how is that going to be impacted? So that's why I'm here tonight, to kind of talk with you folks about that, and suggest if you want us to take that map and recreate it as it is, happy to do that. I'd really urge you not to start adjusting lines without having a good basis for why you're moving lines, or are we creating a new zone because you've got a rural area, you've got a suburban area. Do we need some other zone? Anyway, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'm sure you folks may have some.
One of the questions that I had was about that demographic data.
Mhm.
Like you said, it was '04, so it's really outdated, and comp plan is currently, we're working on a survey in comp plan.
Sure.
And Michelle had spoken with somebody from the Municipal Planning Assistance Program.
Yes, Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry.
Yes.
That is what is left of what was called the State Planning Office at one time.
Now, is that the same data? Do they have the same, because he said that Lyman would be able to get that demographic data from this Department of Ag website, if you will, in April, I think he said. Is it the same data that we would get from Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission?
Yes. So what happens, excuse me, is twice a year, the DACF planning staff would send out an email to usually the planning agencies like ourselves. There's 10 of us in the state, by the way, so we're not alone in what we do. And suggest that they're looking for who might want to update their comprehensive plan. And so they have a data packet that they put together. So if I send them an email and say Lyman is interested, they will get all of the data that they can from the state on Lyman and package it and send it to us.
Is that census data?
Some of it is. Some of it is state data when you talk about mapping, beginning with habitat. I'm not sure if you're heard of beginning with habitat. It is a division of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Office at the state, and they do nothing but map. They map wildlife corridors, they map habitat areas, they map wetlands information. They provide all of the environmental type of mapping in the state. And what we do is we take those maps and that information and use it if you will, insisting with your comprehensive plan.
So they had said that, that they could not supply that data to us until April. Is that, would it be the same if we said Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission, can you guys get us that demographic data?
I mean, we have other ways to get the data. You can go on the Beginning with Habitat website and download whatever maps they have for the town of Lyman today. As far as data sources, we go into the U.S. Census data information and get all of the housing data and population data. And so, yeah, I mean, we can do that. If, April's not that far away at this point, but certainly that's something, if we were to do some work for you folks in that area, we can go ourselves and get that information.
I got a question. Is it gonna cost the same if we have you do it or if they do it?
If they do it, it doesn't cost you a penny.
Okay, if you do it, it's gonna cost us.
Yes,
So it might be better to wait till.
you can do that.
Don, have a question?
Okay, from the data, I mean, George, you were on that comprehensive plan committee too, as well as I was this last week.
Yes.
Where did that data come from? From Southern Maine?
And so it should be, if it's in your plan, there should be source information underneath whatever tables there are. And it should say US Census, or it should say.
Well, it says U.S. Census.
There you go. Yeah, so that's where the data came from.
Yeah, I know, but who put this package together? That's my question.
I'm assuming someone in my office did, back in '04. I wasn't
No,
around.
no,
in
no,
04.
no.
Yeah.
Back in 2019.
Oh, in
We
19?
paid you $2,500 in 2019 to update that data.
So someone from, I was there in 19, someone from my staff would have done it. I certainly didn't do it, but we would have grabbed that data for you.
I thought the data was 04.
So did I.
Well, no, but some of it was based on that, but you've got tax committee, you've got stuff here from 14. There's a table that says 2014 in it, and stuff like that, so you can take a look at
Yeah.
it. Sure, I want, what's your stuff, it'll fall out on you.
Okay,
I think you just grab this crap.
that's okay.
Oops, never mind.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I won't lose it.
Yeah, so I mean, somebody put it together because we didn't do it, the comprehensive plan committee. We had that, that's the backup.
We did a survey of town exiting members from a poll, voting, and spent most of our time and energy restructuring goals and objectives, specific objectives for the town and the selectmen.
So for example, housing permit information, 2005 to 15, the source for that was the town, probably from the code enforcement office, because the next piece, which talks about where the building permits were located in town, says Town of Lyman Code Enforcement Office, SMRPC, which would have been us back then, which was 03, 96 to 03.
So it sounds like you collated the data and put it together, and gave us the package.
Yes.
Sure.
That's what we asked them to do.
In 2000, so you've got full valuation information for your tax rates and whatnot. The information in here is 014. And it says Maine Revenue Service, 2016. So someone grabbed the data in 2016. It was only good up through 2014 because the state's data is going to have a lag time in it. Yeah. So there's various years and various pieces of data from a number of places.
Was there any, is that, you see the format by category there? The question I had was, well, does it have, I mean, it seems like it's in a logical format, but one is transportation, one is this, one is that, the various categories. Did you guys put those together or where do they come from?
I honestly, I mean, all of the
Sorry, catch me
data,
on the-
no, all of the data comes from, like, if it's transportation related, it's coming from Maine DOT.
Yeah.
Did it come through our office to be put in the plan? I can't answer that. Because I was looking at the 04 document, I was looking at JT Lockman's records, who would have been there in 04, and I couldn't find any work for Lyman in relation to the comprehensive plan. So, and I didn't check any of my other staff, current staff, to see if they did anything.
Okay, yeah.
But we didn't do it, the people on the committee did do it, my
We
point.
delegated
Right,
that.
right.
Right.
Someone would have done it. our office could have done it.
I mean, I think the data is good. I mean, it's the format is good. I don't know whether, you have to have all these specific categories or not, but I mean, it seems very logical. the way it's put
Yeah, I
together.
mean, the way you do comprehensive plans today is a little different than the way they were done back then.
Yeah.
Back then they had a certain template that they would have used to develop every town's plan. We have a different kind of a template today. We may not use all of the data that was used back then, all of
And
that.
we have the categories here too. I mean, they seem logical, but whether they're specified anywhere, I don't think they're in.
Well, if you want a plan that kind of follows state law, you don't have to go for consistency with
Yeah.
the state, but kind of follows that
Right.
format, if you will. There are certain requirements like those that need to be in the plan. Today we also look at climate issues if you want to. We look at housing, aging in place issues.
Yeah, I know all about that.
Yep. If the town wants to look at that as an issue, we can certainly provide information on that. So there are other things that we
You
can
could put
do. Yes, absolutely.
But I mean, I don't mean to take over the meeting. I'm just saying,
No, that's
I just wondered when I've been reading this thing, I know we got the data from somewhere, and I guess I wasn't quite smart enough to read and see the places where it says where all the data came from, but somebody put it together and it wasn't the committee at the time.
It could have very well been someone in our office.
And they did a nice job on it. So I would hope that the committee, comprehensive plan committee, which I happen to be on, would get that same help,
Yeah, for sure,
but it may take money.
for sure.
Anyway, thank you.
So anybody have any other questions for Lee J?
I have a question. Hi, Lee J. It's Dave Ellis. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very good.
Good.
So when the data comes through you.
Yep.
Do you package it in a way that it would be better for the layman to understand and to collate it and, put it in documents versus us as a town going out and grabbing that data and trying to work with it ourselves?
That's a really good question, Dave. I mean, we can. A lot of that data comes through in a standard format. If we want to make it easier to understand or a way that is better suited for the town's needs, yes, we can reformat that stuff. That's easy to do.
So that would be basically the cost
Yes.
that the town would have to decide on is whether the clarity of it is easier to understand.
Correct. And I can tell you that some of the towns that we've worked with, we've done, we've done a lot of heavy data information, and the towns have said, we don't want all that data. So we'd pull a bunch of it out and try to just keep information that we think is really relevant to decision-making purposes and get rid of a lot of the other data.
Okay, anybody else?
My only other question is, Dave, could you please pull your microphone closer to you?
Can you flip it?
If you can't hear me, Dave, you must need to have your hearing aid turned up.
Yeah, that's.
Can you hear me?
Can you flip
I
the
probably
mic
have a
towards you?
bad battery.
The problem is everybody else gets blown away on the YouTube.
Okay.
My question is, as we were talking about this other group in April now,
Yes.
if they wanted it before April, you could put that material, that information together. And then you could work on it and put it in the right format.
I'm going to say generally to your question, yes. The reason I'm hesitant is because right this moment we are buried with work.
Okay, so what my next question is it would be better to wait till April, get the information, give it to you, and have you fix it.
It would work better for us that way.
It would be
Yes.
cheaper for us.
Yes. Yeah, because we're not doing the data mining, if you will. We're just taking the state's information.
Right. But I agree, it would be very beneficial to have your people massage the data before it comes in here.
Yes. I'm very hesitant on the word massage because we don't like to massage the data. We don't want to massage the data, but we certainly want to be able to make it readable for you
Yes.
and understandable.
Well,
Yes.
That's the key word, understand.
I only had, did somebody else have another? Oh, Joe did, yes.
Just a couple quick ones.
Yeah.
With respect to mapping, I understand the town has an RFP out for an aerial mapping project. And Don, we had a gentleman by the name of Thomas before some time ago, and he was contracted by the town to do some mapping for the town in terms of the locations of the zones. So just to kind of put it out there that information has been accumulated, as I guess somewhere here.
Yes.
Both enforcement levels.
Mhm.
Secondly, Lee and I were talking about a bill up in Augusta that has caused some concern here at LD 1976. We can address that. The last thing I saw about it was tabled on the 26th of last month, which is pretty much sending it to the cemetery this late in the session.
Yes.
Not to say it's, a complete dead letter, but I don't think it poses any kind of threat, at least in the immediate, to the comprehensive plan committee's support.
Yeah, and I think the last time I was out, I was suggesting that at that time, it was, slow down on your comp plan because LD 1976 could change the whole vision of how you need to do that. And since that time, in fact, I think it was just last week, last Thursday or Friday, there was a work session on it. And it sounds like it came out being tabled, which usually, yes, it's a death knell for the bill.
Mhm. Good. Okay. All right, that helps. For sure.
Yes, definitely.
The last question that I have is about floodplain.
Yes.
And I'm not sure that all the committee members are aware of this, but our town just received a letter from the Department of Ag, I believe it came from, saying that we have to adopt a floodplain ordinance. And they were very forceful in the letter. Basically, do this by July 17th, or anybody that carries flood insurance in your town will no longer be covered. So
But how does the Department of Agriculture get involved?
Yep.
Okay.
Question,
Okay, I can answer that for you. So, floodplain is FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency. FEMA is the lead federal agency regarding flood insurance and floodplain mapping. Every state has an agency within state government that coordinates at the state level for flood mapping and
it got
floodplain
delegated
information.
to the Department of Ag.
Yes, again, the DACF, Department of Agriculture, Conservation and Forestry, is where the planning component, which is the piece that's left from State Planning Office, which was dismantled a number of years ago, sits. And within that, there is the floodplain management team of 2 people that coordinate all the floodplain management issues statewide. And they're the ones who sent out the letter. As a matter of fact, I wanted to go into my email. I won't bother now, but we are putting on a workshop with those folks next week, I believe it is, so that it's a webinar workshop, so that we can talk directly with them, ask the questions that folks want to ask, and understand what needs to be done in order to get this in place.
Okay. And I suppose everybody else is saying the same thing. How do we possibly get that done in that amount of time?
Some folks are saying that. I certainly said it on behalf of all of our towns because that information came to us before it went to anybody else. And very concerned about the deadline because, as I told them, a lot of towns are already into getting their warrants prepared, and there's no time for them to be able to go through this and make the edits that may need to be done at the local level. So I've put that out there for them. I think that's certainly a discussion point. But that edict on those deadlines are not coming from the state. They are coming from the federal
Oh.
government, from FEMA.
Okay. All right.
So they're just the messenger, if you will. But
Between people,
yeah. And so a little background on that, because most of the rest of the state already has their new floodplain ordinances and floodplain maps in place. What happened down here, these floodplain maps came out probably 4 years ago now. And there were several coastal communities that didn't like what they were seeing for the mapping. And so they hired an engineering firm to do a very highly sophisticated scientific analysis of wave action and the like to determine if those maps were correct. And they filed an appeal with the federal government and showed why they felt that those maps were incorrect. And it had worked its way through the process. And those appeals have all run out at this point. And now FEMA is saying, you need to get these in place now.
Wow.
Is this an ordinance
I
that
have a
has to go
question.
to a,
1 second, Dave. Go
Yep.
ahead, Matt.
is this an ordinance that has to go to a general election?
Yes, and we had
So-
discussed that because I actually talked to the town manager about it. If we waited until the last gun's fired in July of their deadline, the select board can enact an emergency ordinance for 91 days that would take us pretty close to that November election. But I guess my question is, have you actually looked at that ordinance or the ordinances that they're sending out to these towns and saying, here, adopt these?
Yes, I have. As a matter of fact, I spent probably 4 hours of my time the other day fixing that ordinance to work for the town of Arundel, who I'm contracted services with. And that was my other concern with trying to get these ready for town meeting, because every town is different and some towns have the ordinance actually embedded in their zoning ordinance, and some towns just adopt the blanket ordinance that they sent out. It really depends on what the town is looking for and what they want to do. It's usually easier, if you will, to pretty much just adopt their ordinance as a standalone ordinance separate from your zoning ordinance. So then you can just adopt what they have sent.
And then if you need to, you change it later.
Correct. Yeah. It's a matter of getting it in place.
Okay, Dave, go ahead.
So, Lee J, will the people who are affected by this, if it happens to be unjustifiable or adversely affects them, will they have a recourse?
Yes, it would be an appeal, what I would call an appeal. It would be a letter of map amendment. They would have to provide some information. There's a form that can be filled out, and you file that with the FEMA Boston office, and they will look at it and determine whether or not that map is accurate according to their information, or whether whatever information you submitted to them would allow for a map amendment. And map amendments do occur. It's not like they're, go down there and they're stamped. No, you can't have it. So map amendments do occur and have occurred on a regular basis.
They happen
So-
regularly.
So if that map amendment happens and the homeowner is right.
Yep.
Will the state pay for it, for their expense?
No,
No.
that's at the homeowner's expense to prove that FEMA is not accurate in their map.
George,
Who, you sent us, or there was a
Yeah.
Word doc. Who put that together?
FEMA did.
FEMA.
And put our name on it?
Yep.
Town of Lyman?
Well, maybe Department of Ag did. the
Yeah,
local
I mean,
part
they
of
did
it,
the
but-
local stuff that would have put your name on it and said, this is the kind of, they probably have 3 or 4 different ordinances. Some are going to have coastal issues in them, and others are going to have what I would call riverine issues, which are, rivers, streams, brooks, and lakes.
Coast versus inlet.
Correct.
And
Correct.
is the expectation that we just rubber stamp this, adopt?
Yes.
And
Pretty much.
Day one.
So
Would you recommend that?
I would recommend that's probably the easiest way to go. One way or another, you're going to need to take their technical standards and adopt it, whether it's just by adopting that ordinance or somehow embedding it in yours.
By the
I
time
don't-
we embed it in ours, it'll
I
be
don't
a
recommend
long
that.
time from now.
I don't recommend that.
I agree.
Yeah.
You should just take the-
In fact, after all the work that I had been doing with Arundel, that's what we discussed, was where their their ordinance is in their zoning ordinance, and we're just going to do a repeal and replace. So we're going to repeal the current language in the zoning ordinance and replace it with a standalone ordinance outside the zoning ordinance, and not even deal with putting it back into the zoning ordinance.
Anybody else have Don has a question.
Do we have any, I don't think you can answer this, I'm just asking the general thing, do we have any idea how many people this affects? I mean, how many people, I know there's a lot of people with homes on ponds.
Well, ponds is not an issue. You have to look at the flood zone map, and it shows you where you go. I don't think we have much in mind.
Probably not. I mean, yeah, flooding issues with lakes and ponds are pretty sparse, if you will. It's really any riverine, brooks,
Would there
rivers,
be any
streams.
The town should, or do you think the town should have a listing of those people who have flood insurance? I mean, I don't know why the town would. I mean, are we talking about 10 people or 1,000 or 500 or 400?
The Department of Ag may have a list of people that have flood insurance for the town of Lyman. The only other way to do it would be to take a GIS map, an electronic map,
Yeah.
and have it with your overlaid with the floodplain information and tax map information,
Right.
and be able to match it up, which is a little bit of heavy lifting.
And then you wouldn't even
It
know.
wouldn't really do anything for us.
That's right.
Know if those
I-
people have flood insurance or not.
Right. Well,
But it doesn't really concern this group.
Well, no, I'm just saying before, I mean, it sounds like, I will say this, I guess we're on the record somewhere, but here the state gives you some mandate. You gotta we gotta jump through a bus, get it done by July 17th.
If I'm not, it's not a state.
it's federal.
Federal.
Okay, federal,
Yes.
but it doesn't make any, federal, state, whatever, those guys up there, right? They're sending it down here, and I don't know whether we're affecting 10 people or 100, and we're gonna jam this thing through, and there may be some unintended consequences, and it sounds like if the homeowner has a problem, they have to go back and at their own expense, go
So,
back.
so here's the bigger issue with that. I hear what you're saying. Here's the bigger issue, is that because it's a federally mandated program, what would happen is, as someone is buying a property, they're doing all their due diligence. If the map suggests that they're in the floodplain and they don't have flood insurance, then they're not getting funding.
And we'll get a mortgage.
That's correct.
Or it will make, it's even just as likely that it makes it out of reach for them, adding flood insurance to their mortgage.
Correct.
If they escrow their mortgage, that flood insurance policy can put them over the cap of being able to afford it.
Very well could, yes.
So are you saying that the federal government is pushing it on us at this late date for that, the unintended consequences that they know is gonna happen?
No, they're pushing it. They're moving it forward at this late date simply because York County is one of the last counties in the state to adopt the flood mapping because of the appeals that went through. What happened a number of years ago, as I was mentioning, is that the way it's working, because every state is different, the federal government has moved the whole floodplain programs, if you will, from every individual municipality to county level. from a standpoint of just mapping and that sort of thing, because everybody has counties. And because they went through the appeal process, York County as a whole was put on hold and said, you can't, no town in York County can adopt these new regulations until all of the appeals have run out. Now those appeals ran out, and now they're saying you need to get them in place.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions?
I don't think there's anything that they're telling us to do that's gonna be detrimental. It's gonna be more detrimental if we don't do it.
Yes, in this particular instance, yes, I think that's a
Yeah,
Very
so we have a choice.
fair
We either do
statement.
it and things are okay, or we don't do it and people can't get flood insurance.
correct.
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 So I mean, I don't see it. I don't see the issue. We're just gonna do it. And that would really hurt those people. Wouldn't hurt me because I'm not in the floodplain. But if we don't do it, those people that are in the floodplain, they won't be able to get flood insurance.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to get it done.
Yeah.
I know you're not in the floodplain.
As I've looked at the map, the maps were given to the town 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah, quite a while
We
ago.
looked at them and we didn't have any complaints, and so we didn't complain, but
I
sometimes.
can
Right.
send everybody the link to,
But
in the
that
letter,
has
there's,
changed.
there's a link.
No, they're the
To the
ones that
flood
came
map?
out back then.
So there is
Online.
Because of
Yes.
the appeals,
The town of Lyman flood map.
but we didn't appeal.
Yes,
There's
online.
sections, it shows Lyman, and there's sections, there's an A section, an A and E section.
There's
and-
various levels of floodplain.
Yeah, yeah.
Do those maps change?
Do they change or did they change?
Well, I guess, have they changed?
Some have. I mean, I don't know if anything in Lyman has or has not changed. But there are certainly areas in York County that have changed.
With this package that we got from the Department of Agriculture, with their new floodplain maps.
I wouldn't say new, but they've been updated. I think that, I don't know the date, they did, I
I
didn't
think
see
it was
the
like 4
date
years
on
ago,
it.
wasn't that? when-
Yeah, the newest maps were done probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
The previous version that you're working off was back in the 70s, I believe, 1970s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, as we know, we've had, a number of storms that have been more water coming downstream than in previous years. And so I don't know, they don't like, I don't want to get too far off a field here, but like on the coastal areas, they don't take into consideration sea level rise or oversplash that has occurred, which could flood areas. They have another very scientific formula that they've used to determine the floodplains. In those areas, there were some significant changes to floodplains.
Not only insurance reasons, but the letter very clearly stated that it would affect grant money.
It very well could, yes.
Yeah, and,
Yes.
if there is a flood and they have to get money from FEMA for the flooding, they probably won't get it if we don't adopt it. So
Correct.
It's just another good reason to do it.
Has Lindsay sent this to the attorney yet?
The ordinance,
The ordinance?
she has not. She just gave it to me 2 days ago. But we can take a look at it too.
It's pretty complicated to,
I'm sorry.
go ahead, Dave.
For the record, could you tell the public where they can view these maps?
I have
The
a
link.
link,
Yeah.
yes, I can put the link, I could have Lindsay put the link out there. But I can send it to all of the committee members as well. It is in the letter that they sent. The letter was addressed to Rusty Blackington, Chair of the Select Board, but there's some pretty strong language in it. But all the links are right in that letter, so I'll forward that to everybody. So does anybody else have
This is
questions?
20 pages.
It is.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's
And
kind of crazy.
the town of Arundel paid you for 4 hours of reviewing this,
I'm under contract with the town of Arundel as their town planner.
why would they want to review all that for 4 hours? If there's nothing you can do about it.
You can change, we can
Well,
change it.
because their current ordinance is embedded in their zoning ordinance, and so I had to change all of the citations from what you see in the federal version. All of the citations needed to change to match the zoning ordinance citations. And you'll
So
see
is that
there's a,
something that we're gonna need to do?
not if you adopt it as a separate standalone, you can just adopt it as it stands.
When did Arundel put it into their ordinance? I mean, are we talking like back in 4 years ago or before that?
Well, the ordinance is, the floodplain regulations have been around for years.
They
And-
require us to have it in the ordinance.
Well, again, some towns adopt it as a freestanding document. Other towns have it in their zoning ordinance. They have theirs in their zoning ordinance. Other towns have theirs in their zoning ordinance.
I don't think we have ours in.
Correct.
Okay,
Whatever we do, is it gonna cost those people that are required to have flood insurance? Is it gonna cost them more money?
not as long as we adopt it.
No, we adopt it. If we don't adopt it, they won't.
They won't be able to
It won't
get it.
cost them more money because they won't be able to get the insurance. So
Right.
they'll save it. They'll flood.
Any other questions? Dave, Buzz?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right.
Thank you
Great.
very much.
Thank you, Lee J.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate you coming in.
Not a problem. Anytime you folks
I'm
need me.
sure we'll be in touch.
Sounds fine to me.
Next time it'll probably be a comprehensive plan that's reaching out, but
We can do that.
I do appreciate it. Okay, guys, so we're moving on.
Quick question.
Yes.
Is there any way to figure out though, is with the UAPs, are there people that are gonna be adversely affected if we adopt this?
They won't
I
be
mean-
affected if we adopt it. No.
The new maps are
We'll
gonna be
be
in
able
effect
to get
whether we adopt.
No,
this or
I'm
not.
saying, but we will be able to get the new maps.
Yes.
Because they,
Yeah.
are they possible that there are residents that are affected and they don't know that they are?
Well, the only reason that they probably wouldn't want to know. If the map changed and all of a sudden you're in a flood zone, you wouldn't know.
Will your insurance?
I mean, the mortgage company, if the mortgage company for some reason were to do that and find out that you're in a floodplain, the mortgage company is gonna reach out and say, you need to get flood insurance, which does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen. But they probably would be none the wiser until they got a letter from mortgage or they tried to sell their home. So. All right, thanks again, Lee J.
Take care.
Thanks, Lee.
All right, so we're gonna review the minutes from 118, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you guys have that in your, I did send it out, but does that copier work, Don?
Let me see, I'll
Do you know?
turn it on.
I don't think it's in that package.
No, I don't think so either.
It's turning on, so I'm assuming it works. I don't know.
All right, I'm just gonna grab copies here.
I'd love one, yeah.
Oh, she's warming up.
Yeah, it takes a minute too.
Oh, yeah. I'm just doing it up again. I don't know how to set it to 6, though.
Up to 6.
I suppose it's. All the residents of town get notifications from in my neighborhood, we were 35 foot feet.
I think you know how to do it.
Right.
Everything else.
Reverse.
It works though.
Well,
Well, no one found like, we would probably 40% of the time.
a good portion.
All right.
Mine, I think, so the town is.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yes, I would just.
Yeah.
Because I really haven't noticed.
Okay.
Maybe like it was before the war, but it's not. It hasn't taken over on me. The only place that I noticed higher is in front of us here.
Yes, we do.
Well,
Yeah.
that's before we put
We
the
do.
spillway in, we had issues where water tanks were pretty bad, but once we put the new spillway in,
All right, guys, background check here, review the minutes from the 118 meeting. I sent these to the guys that are on Zoom, and I circled that you have my copy, you guys have copies of my copies, so I just wanted to clarify that in the last meeting when we were talking about doing these live edits, that the one true copy that we're dealing with, this copy that we're gonna be editing here, is going to be on a thumb drive. I brought a thumb drive, it's actually over there. Dave is going to put the full copy on that thumb drive. I only have the edits as of now.
so I'm gonna change the word, I'm gonna take out her computer and put in a thumb drive.
We don't even have to change it. I'm fine with leaving that
okay.
there, but just let the new minutes reflect that that copy will
Well, I
be.
can change this, there's no problem. I mean,
Either way,
This
it's
is,
fine.
this is a draft, I'm
Yep.
gonna take out her
Yep.
computer and put in a thumb drive.
A thumb drive would be great.
Are we
Okay.
discussing the minutes?
Yes.
There's a typo here.
Uh-oh.
Discussion, it was decided to break this down into two motions, TWO.
Oh, okay.
Nice bit, George.
My spell check doesn't catch those spelling errors.
Not when you spell them right.
Yeah, I know.
However wrong. He spelt it right, however wrong.
Right. All right, anybody
That
else?
sounds like the English language.
If not, I'll look for a motion.
I will move to accept the minutes as amended.
1 second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay. We now are going to move on to,
Who's that did it?
George did.
George.
Okay.
We're now gonna move on to the edits. So the edits that we did from the last meeting have to be put in.
And I had a question that I brought up before, and I guess we're gonna need some kind of an answer to it.
Okay.
The question is Lee Schatz still a member of the board? And if he is, and if he was at the vote, that makes, in order to approve anything, we have to have 5 positive votes. Because it has to be more than half of the membership has to vote. And we didn't get 5, so I don't know what we want to do. Do we want to just say, ignore Lee, or do we want to just, I don't know what we want to do. We just need to do something.
I guess my only clarifying question, is it a majority of the board or a majority of the board that's present?
That it could, if we have our own bylaws, we could make it a majority of the members present. But right now, the rules that we're going by is the same rules that the select board goes by. It's the majority of the board. It's the same
We have
rules that
bylaws.
that the planning board goes by, the majority of the board. So like, if there's 5 members of the planning board,
Gotta have 3.
if only 3 members show up, you can still have a meeting, but all 3 have to vote yes.
But we have bylaws.
What, do our bylaws say that it's passed by a majority of the members or a majority of the board?
Wait a minute.
And if it's not addressed, like I said, I don't care what we do, but we need to do something.
I seem to remember the bylaws saying something about a quorum of 3.
As I remember it, we always had, the majority of the board, that's present, not a 5-member board. You would need, how many people are present, you take the vote of that. And this is the first committee I've been on that we need to meet a quorum. We always had a quorum with whatever showed up.
Yeah, I think it's in the bylaws,
I'm looking
and I
for it.
believe the quorum is 3, and they're on the website.
Bylaws, got it.
My memory is not that good.
All right,
We've been here with 4 members and canceled the meeting because we didn't have a quorum.
purpose and scope of the
And maybe we
bylaws.
did that wrong, but
No,
Yeah.
I think I did it right.
I think it's time to clarify. Yes, that seems like it filled up tonight. I'll put that over there.
Question is, did we all read the bylaws?
So once upon a time,
I hope we did, because they would have been just enacted.
It says, it just says a quorum is required for any special meeting to be held. Does not apply to workshops. All meetings open to the public. Conflict with the charter. Waiver and amendments. Okay, I don't see it in here. It says, our bylaws, section 1 is the purpose of the ordinance review. Section 2 is purpose and scope of the bylaws. The bylaws aim to establish reasonable rules of procedure for committee meetings and promote the fair, orderly, and efficient conduct of the committee's proceedings and affairs. These bylaws shall govern the committee's practices and procedures except as otherwise provided by law, and shall be liberally construed so as to accomplish their purpose. Committee shall exist of at least 5 members, all of whom shall be residents of the town of Lyman, age of 18. We serve voluntarily for a 3-year staggered term. If any member fails without cause to attend 3 consecutive regular meetings or 75% of all meetings during the preceding 12-month period, a recommendation may be made to the select board that the member be removed from the committee.
That would take care of, we could make a recommendation that even if he doesn't submit a resignation, we could recommend, since he's missed way more
Well,
than
I
3.
mean, he's made it clear that he's not a member.
He hasn't, but you have to resign and the select board has to accept the resignation before you're out. That's what we had to do with Mike.
Okay, so, yeah, I don't know, we have to,
So that is why, so then that's how I read it, is that by them, by it being in there that we have a minimum of 5, that's where the 3 comes from. Otherwise, a quorum should be, when we vote, it should be by majority.
That's right, Dave.
Yeah, if you remember correctly, we had this exact discussion a while before you and Buzzy got on the committee, when it was gonna be increased in size, we said, that's gonna make a difference on quorum and voting. I don't know if you remember the discussion, but this was before they got on the committee. When we started out as being 7 and they made us 9.
Okay, so what are you looking to do with this? Do you-
I just need to have guidance as to what we're gonna do, and I think in order to do it properly, we either do it the way the rest of the town does it, or we revise the bylaws, and I don't have a problem with either one. But the rest of the town, and I've been on several committees in town, and they all work under the same rules. A quorum is the majority of the committee, and in order to pass a vote, it has to be a majority of the number of members, and that's what the planning board does. That's what the select board does. That's what the assessment review board does.
Because technically you still have 8 members, is that?
Well, we don't know. I don't know how many we have, because there's nowhere except that says we have to have 5 or more, I guess.
So as the planning board, the board is a 5-member board. Would you meet and conduct business if 4 were present?
Yes, even if there were 3.
Would you have to have 3 positive votes?
You would, because it would be 3 to,
That's
It
right.
would be 2 to 2.
And in our situation, we have alternates who usually attend,
Sure.
and they have voted into
So-
full voting membership for that meeting. Anyway, operationally, you've got 7 folks, right?
with 7 members.
Well, we have 8 members that are listed on, and we've been told that Mr. Schatz had resigned, but he hasn't.
Yes,
What he's saying is, if you got a majority of 5, and you go vote on an article, and 4 people vote yay, and 1 person votes nay, the minority would win, because you gotta have all 5 votes. That's wrong.
No,
3 votes with yay, and 2 nay would be, the yays would win.
No, having a quorum to start the meeting versus the vote, I believe is 2 separate issues.
It is.
It's, when we're voting, it's majority.
that's the way I understood it to be.
To have the meeting is the quorum.
So
I think we're getting into the weeds, is what we're getting into.
yeah,
We can take this stuff offline, but
It's 20 minutes to 8.
yes.
We need to move away.
So
Well, maybe we should get some legal advice.
I'm going to make a suggestion that, I mean, clearly, I think the majority of us thought that a majority won the vote. If,
I thought we
There's
were
7
Even I thought that too, because I thought Lee was gone.
yeah, I,
Let's clear up one thing, take care of some business. Can we make a motion to dismiss
Peggy?
Lee?
I make a
Hold
motion
on.
that we recommend to the select board that Lee be removed.
Do we have to recommend it to the
Yes, that's
select
what it-
board?
bylaws say.
We can't dismiss somebody from the committee
Then,
we
based on our
we-
own bylaws?
we have to make the recommendation,
Our bylaws, she just read it.
because,
Has to recommend. it.
yes.
Yeah, well, let's make a motion.
I made it.
I'll second
should
that.
this not be on the agenda?
it is not on the agenda, Dave.
So we'll have to wait next week to decide about Lee.
Well, I think
Okay, that's
somebody,
fine. I mean, I have no problem.
I think somebody should reach out to Lee to see what's going on. I mean, we don't have
yeah,
anything, we're swinging it here and we're
You
not
know
getting
what?
anything.
You know what? I think that's a good idea. There is a motion on the table currently to have, to get Lee removed from the committee,
No, to recommend.
to recommend that he gets removed from the committee. So those are the 2 choices. We gotta deal with this motion now.
Heidi,
Okay, go ahead, Buzzy. Discussion?
Yeah, I did.
What's that?
I said, I had something to say here.
Go
I
ahead.
talked to Lee, and he wants to remain on the board, on the committee, because right now it's just his job, and the hours are conflicting with our meetings. But he's planning to retire later on, and he would like to continue being on the board, and on the committee, not on the board, but on our committee. So I don't think we should be voting to remove him or have him removed until he decides he wants to be off the committee.
When did you talk to him,
Right
Buzzy?
now, he's hoping to get back to us.
When did you talk to him?
I talked to him today.
Today. Okay. All right.
Yes, because I seen Mr. Dulong's email to you, and I said, gee, I wonder what's going on with that. And me and Lee are pretty good friends, so I called. And he said that he's talking about retiring, and he'd like to stay on the committee.
Okay. So,
I would think,
we're gonna deal with the motion on the table. And we can just vote accordingly if you want if you want to reach out to Lee, and I can, whoever can, and discuss if he's still on the committee, if he wants to resign, get that over, or the other option is to request that he is removed from the committee. So that is the current motion on the table. And it's been first and second.
I'm gonna let you know about that, Peggy.
We've had the discussion. So all in favor of requesting that Lee be removed from the committee?
Can I ask Fuzzy one more question? Fuzzy, does he actually work on the Thursday nights? Can he join us remotely like you and David do?
He works.
I don't know, but he looks, right now, he's working in a warehouse that he works for a main medical center in the pharmaceutical warehouse. And a lot of times, the department will send down to him, they need certain medicine, and he has to run out and get that certain medicine and bring it up to him. So he'd have a hard time with Zoom right now.
So he's working Thursday nights.
So he's
is what we're
working
saying.
Thursday nights.
And that is what was told to me the last time I spoke to Lee. He told me that he was going to be working on Thursday nights. But where it went from there, I don't know, because that was the transition where Mike was resigning and everything was kind of crazy. So I don't know that anything beyond that. So
I guess.
go ahead.
This discussion, my 2 cents would be, to suggest that the motion be pulled until we talk to Lee, to be fair to him. And I would also, think of a time frame. If he's gonna retire in 2 months, okay, but if it's gonna be a year from now, especially with this other part of the equation in question, I mean, until we figure out, do we need 5 affirmative votes because that's a majority of the board or not? I don't want to see it linger too long.
I'll pull my motion back.
Okay. All right, you as well.
I would only say that we're being held hostage by somebody who cannot actively participate on the committee going forward, and we are under some time constraints.
Well, that's a poor choice of words, because we have 7 and there's nothing stopping us from moving forward.
Well, it sounds like there is, and we just had a vote that was close, and we can't resolve it because we may or may not have a member who could have voted.
Well, I thought we had a quorum, and
We have
So we had a quorum
the
and
majority
not
voted
sure.
affirmative.
All right, so perhaps the suggestion should be that we add to our bylaws that when we vote, it has to meet a majority of the quorum.
I would say,
So the quorum would be the majority of the people that are on the board, which means 5.
Correct.
So then it would be that
Not the majority
3
of the
would
board.
pass it. So if there's a 3-2 vote, that would pass it. So we're gonna put in there that the majority of the quorum present. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Dwight has a question.
Go ahead, Tom.
Not to, I mean, obviously, I'm not on this board, I'm just a ex officio, but all I can say is the planning board, it says the majority of the board must vote to pass a motion. So in other words, we gotta have at least 3 members, even though we could have, to vote for a motion for it to pass, so it has to be a majority. In the planning board's case, now, I don't know whether that is.
Select board is exactly the same.
And all I'm saying is I would suggest possibly talking to the town manager and get 2 cents out of that
Before
too.
we make the,
Because I just think that if you're having a board and have members, you should have a majority of the board itself. And if you've got 7 members, that would mean you'd have to have 4 to pass a motion rather. And if you only had, okay, so the quorum, say you had 4 members here and that was a quorum, if the board was 7 members, and only 3 passed, 3 voted, it sounds to me a little bit flaky, but that's just me, that's just from the planning board perspective.
well, I agree with you.
But I'm not saying that's 100% perfect. I would suggest that maybe Peggy would talk to the town manager and get a readout so it's consistent across.
Well,
all
this
the committees.
is my concern. So here we are discussing this vote that was 4-3. Now we have to go back to all these meetings that Lee wasn't here and count the votes and see what passed.
Almost everything that we've done has been unanimous. You go back and look at the minutes. I'll
Then
be
I think
shocked
that
if
that's
this-
only fair that we would have to do that, though. I mean,
Well, yeah, you can go
we
back and look,
can't.
and if it's unanimous, it's unanimous.
Absolutely, of course, but that's not the point. The point is this thing that which it doesn't matter. We'll talk to the manager, town manager, see what she says, and we'll go from there.
Is there a difference between the board and the committee?
Yes, a board is elected.
Appointed.
Or appointed, yes. So yes, I guess that leaves us, it's 10 of 8, guys, and we're not able to get to any of our edits here. So I guess.
I'm free until 10, just in case anybody wanted to stay, so we got something done.
The live edits were not, I don't think it's really, we got 10 minutes. Do you guys want to dive into the live edits or?
I'd like to have a little bit of discussion,
Sure,
real quick.
go ahead.
Just looking at this.
Yep.
And what you printed out and handed us.
Mhm.
As I recall, we started going down page by page and we made grammatical edits and everything, and that's what's here. And then we jumped to contract zoning, and then we jumped to ADUs, and then shoreline ADUs. I would kind of suggest that not necessarily put it in the trash can, but put the edits on the first page through the other stuff that I just mentioned. Put that stuff on the back burner and focus on the 3 or 4 big things and not go back through these again.
You mean, I'm not sure I understand what you're
Yeah, I
saying.
know. Article 1, all the
Yep.
edits that we made in Article 1, let's table those indefinitely.
Why not just
Okay.
vote? I thought we agreed on those.
And the only reason, the big reason why I say it is because we only got through 6 pages of the ordinance. So we're gonna clean up 6 pages of the ordinance and then leave everything else a mess.
Well, this is the thing. So really, my intent, since I've been in this chair, is to get exactly what we have to onto the ballot, which we know is LD 2003 ADUs.
It's
That's
not
it.
Article 1.
That's,
That's my-
it is not, you're exactly right.
That's my
And
thing.
I think your point of not going back through contract zoning and all that, I am 100% for that because it just takes up too much time. I personally would like to not even put contract zoning on the ballot right now and just get ADUs done and put that on, and we're square for LD 2003. We're compliant, everything's great. And then, as Lee J said, move out of the zoning ordinance completely until comprehensive plan is able to get ahead of us a little bit. And we can't even do streets, really, because we're just spinning our wheels. That's what we've been doing since November before last. Get ADUs done, get it on the ballot. Let's go to the miscellaneous ordinances, the sex offender registry, the, all these other silly little ones. It's gonna take us so little time. They're very small ordinances to.
This was supposed to take me quick, too.
Well, it clearly has not been. That's my
Clearly,
point.
right, I think.
That's my
I think
point.
Assuming that anything is gonna be quick and dirty is.
Some of them have a little meat to them, but I don't think that these ordinances, these miscellaneous ordinances, does everybody have a copy, by the way, of the miscellaneous ordinances?
I don't have a sex offender.
No, I've got the ones that, the shoreline, the regular zoning.
I have the ones that Brenda did.
Brenda
for
gave us like 4.
All right, so
I thought contracts, we voted to just.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
I was
voted
gonna
to
speak-
eliminate
I was
it.
gonna
I
speak
Yeah,
to that.
so-
I think that one's easy. I think
That's not an
I think
issue.
that one's done.
That's
I-
easy.
My point was just the grammatical edits that we made, we spent some time on, yes. But if we're not gonna be able to get through the entire ordinance, let's put the grammatical edits on the back burner. Because basically what we're saying is we're gonna put a half-edited version of the ordinance in front of the
I
voters.
totally agree.
So
I agree, I agree with Matt.
I don't wanna put a,
I thought we had already agreed that we were only gonna present the 3 items anyway. I thought this was,
Well, that's what I thought too.
this we were doing instead of taking a break from doing anything.
We're gonna do
I mean,
this,
isn't this separate?
get out of the zoning ordinance, go to the miscellaneous ordinances. And get these 3 things that have been voted on, get them on the ballot. That's it. And as far as editing it, the only thing we're doing is like changing the what's, the where's, and that's it. And obviously the owner occupied word now. But now we can't do that until I talk to the town manager about Lee, know how many votes we have to have, so on and so forth.
And I would like to recommend that before we finalize it, so to speak, and put it on a petition, that we have at least one public hearing to discuss it. This would be after we've all decided on what we want,
Why don't we
and
just get
before
Lee
we
to
put it
vote
on a petition.
to be done?
I thought that you were the proponent of the public hearings we're done at that point.
No, yes, the ones that are in the charter we're done at that point. But I believe that the public should have an opportunity to discuss it when it's not being fed down their throat,
And I'm pretty sure, excuse me, what was that?
when it's not being driven down their throat. The public hearings that we're gonna have after the petition is signed are gonna be informational public hearings, telling people what's gonna happen. Not, what do you think about it? Or do you think we should
It's-
revise it? It's gonna be, this is what it is. Does anybody disagree with that?
Wasn't the discussion that they have the opportunity to come to these meetings
No, I.
and get the information here or go on YouTube
How
and
many people do
then?
you see?
Well, I mean, to clarify the discussion, that is exactly what we have talked about in the past. Was our meetings are open to the public, we're online, we're on Zoom. We discuss things in public. We make decisions, we make recommendations. It goes to the attorney, comes back, we get our signatures, and then we have our public hearings that inform the voters as to what they're going to vote on. That is all we've got for
Exactly,
discussion.
That's
Exactly.
exactly the way it was set up.
Exactly.
So in other words, we're not gonna get any input from the public at a public hearing.
Can I
They
clarify?
Yes.
they have 5 minutes to come to any meeting they want.
Are you suggesting we have an additional public hearing?
I'm suggesting that once we get the verbiage established, we put it out there and advertise it so people that come to the meeting know what they're gonna be coming to the meeting about. If somebody comes to the meeting now, how would you like to sit through 2 hours of what we just did, if you're the public? I believe that we should, like almost every other organization does, when they decide on something, they have a public hearing to get public input so that they'll know what the public wants.
So that's what you're suggesting. You're suggesting we hold a public hearing to get public input.
Correct.
Why are we bringing this up now when we're ready to have these things presented to the attorney and put on the warrant?
I brought it up before, but we never remember what we talked about before. But I brought it up before and I said, when we talked about the public hearings, where we made it perfectly clear that our public hearings are not for people to give a comment. They are not to get public input. They are to tell, when there are 3 of them that says, this is what we're telling you, you're gonna vote on.
We were gonna explain to them.
Yes, exactly.
So they were
Oh, wait a
informed.
minute, go ahead, Matt.
And that's we only are saying that, in my opinion, because we're following the charter.
Correct.
That's what the charter tells us we have to do.
Mhm.
If we want to add additional public hearings, we can certainly do that, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I don't know that the time frame works in this case, but I'm open to anything at that point. I mean, the more, the better.
Well, we know we have to be, it has to be done by May. We've got from February to May. I think we're close. I think we're close to what the wording is gonna be. All we need to do is we need to publish the wording.
Which wording are we talking about?
The wording
So
on
we're clear.
that's gonna be on the warrant. The wording that's gonna be on the warrant. Okay? We don't know it's gonna be 100% like that, but we know it's gonna be pretty close, like we know. We're gonna recommend that the contract zoning be removed. There might be people out there that don't want that to happen. It might be nice to get their opinion. Now, okay, we advertise it and nobody shows up, we say, oh, everybody seems to be happy.
I seem to remember, though, we've had this discussion, and as a committee, we decided that because of the time constraints and everything else, that we were just gonna have informational public meeting as required,
And let them
so
vote.
they understood
And let them vote on it.
and let them vote on it. Yes. I mean, it's
That
a
was my
little late
understanding.
now, and now it's 8:00, we've really accomplished nothing, we just seem to just.
We can inform us about this.
Yes.
Yes, he was very informed.
I agree with you, Steve. I think that's the way as a committee we've been talking.
Yeah, that's what we had
I
said
I
right
think in the
along.
final hour, we
100%.
don't have enough time to have an additional public.
So you don't really.
That's what.
don't
I
really
say
want
we put it
anything.
on.
Let's just get something on the,
No,
are we still upset about striking owner occupied? Is that what, I mean, is this, have anything to do with
This has got nothing to do with
Oh, okay.
anything that might be out there. It's got to do with, I like to hear what the community.
All right,
has
point of
to say.
order, we're gonna say, I'm gonna make a decision then. We were on course all along, I think, at least the 3 of us. Dave, I won't speak for you or Buzz. But our plan has been, all along, to make the changes, we vote, we make the changes, we get it to the lawyer, and at that point, we get the signatures and hold our public hearings. The public hearings were intended to be for public informational purposes, and we send it to a vote. This is what we have. Vote on it. Yes or no? Dave and Buzz, is that your intent?
That is my intent. Dave says that is my intent.
Buzz?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay. All right. So.
You get that?
Yep, I got it. All right, so that's that. We're gonna not go into editing tonight. The only edits that we have to put in are that attachment 1, that attachment 2, and then we have to vote on attachment 3. next week. Those are the only edits that we have to do.
I thought we were voting on that today, but we can't vote. on
Yeah.
anything.
I wouldn't take a
Yeah,
vote.
we can't
I wouldn't
because
take a vote
of the
tonight.
Lee thing. Yeah. So, next meeting, I will have an answer about Lee J. Not Lee J, sorry, Lee Schatz. And we'll just put in those few edits, like there was one, I think it was assessor, and we'll switch it to accessory, and, you know, just those little
In
grammar things.
10.6, in the ordinance that we're presenting.
Yeah. So just those few things, we'll do that, and then we'll ship it off to Lindsay and get the lawyer's baptismal, and then we go to signatures.
I would also, I think we're at the point where we shouldn't forget about contract zoning.
Yes, I
We did
agree, we
completely
voted
vote
on it, it's
To
there.
remove, and that's not an editing thing.
Yes,
that's
we don't have to
right.
edit it because we're
It's
taking it
It's gonna
out.
be-
I think that
the
needs to
warrant
go to the
article's gonna-
voters.
Gonna
Yep.
say pretty
That was
easy to
unanimous.
remove, that was
Yep.
unanimous,
Yep,
pretty
I agree.
simple, it's gonna be
I
to
agree.
remove the section on contract zoning.
Yep. I wish we hadn't started with contract zoning. I wish we had just done LD 2003 and dealt with that, but it is what it is. We voted on it and accepted that. It was unanimous, right? So, yeah, let's just get it out there. But I don't think that those edits will take us very long. And once we do that, then we can move on. Okay? Sound good, everybody? Does anybody
Joe
have
has a
anything to
question.
add? Go ahead.
Quick one, just as you were discussing before with respect to the FEMA floodplain,
Yes.
Joe, I can't hear you.
just as everyone was discussing before about the FEMA floodplain due date and the possibility of the select board passing an emergency ordinance to tide us over until
Yep.
November. I believe the LD 2003 requirement is to have this done by,
June.
so could that be proposed as a consideration for the select board for them to adopt this as an emergency ordinance until such time it can come to a vote in November?
That's a good point. That's a very good point. I will reach out to Lindsay and make sure that she's aware that that is in the pipe and we're gonna have to do that because, and it might have to, like you said, be renewed. Because I don't think, if it's June, I don't think it'll take us to the vote.
No.
So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that.
And just with respect to the miscellaneous ordinances,
Yeah.
sex offender ordinance and the PACE ordinance.
Yep.
I was
I'm
here,
sorry, what was the second one?
PACE,
Case.
the property assessed clean energy
Yeah.
ordinance. I was around when those were adopted, so you want the background on that, I can fill you in.
Oh, yes, I would love that because I was wondering that actually on that.
Anybody have copies of those?
I do have copies and I'm gonna make copies if you guys don't have
I didn't
them.
know those were on our agenda.
Yeah,
I thought it was-
no, it's not, but it will be if we move out of this ordinance. So I'll make copies of those extra ordinances for everybody and I'll have those at the next meeting as well. And yes, I think thank you for bringing that up. Anybody else have anything they want to add before I accept a motion? Nope, okay, so do it.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, and Steve seconded. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Just for the, so Peggy, that sex offender ordinance is on the website.
Is it on the website? Yes.
Let me make sure. it is.
They should be there too.
It's on four pages, adopted 10/3/11.
No, it's just saying.
I'm looking for face.
Let's see, here they are. See, this
Any
is the record.
comments?
Peggy, I'm sorry to
Oh,
interrupt.
yeah, there it is. Yeah,
I
face,
can't shut Zoom down until.
face is
you're
on
good.
there.
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah, thank you.
Pace is on the website also. It's under-
Pace is?
It's under ordinances.
Okay, perfect.
The whole list of them. And it just
Awesome.
shows up on
Do you want that copy, Pace?
I don't understand.
What's that?
Do you want that copy?
Oh, yes.
Get a thumb drive?
I do right here.
Which is essentially what.
So there is a sex offender who's got
That suggests. So,
Yes, we are. Let me turn that off.
I haven't heard anything from anyone.
One thing you need to,
We didn't make
you need to know, Peggy, if this is not an up-to-date version. I could not get an up-to-date
Oh,
version
really? Why is that? Do you know?
because Julie didn't have one.
Oh, okay.
But this is, it's very close, but you have to look at it twice to make sure. It
Okay.
doesn't reflect the last amendment.
Okay.
This is,